There's certainly no better racetrack to be back at than from last year, one of the wildest races ever produced in Canadian E-Motorsports Network history. Back at it here now in Season 3 of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. This is round 14 of 16 for the season-long Greg Moore Cup and round 7 of 8 for the Oval Championship, the AJ FOYT Cup here at the virtual Auto Club Speedway near Fontana, California. It's the second annual Forked River 250. Regan MacAulay and Jordy Carrier are back at it here in the broadcast booth, ready to bring you more action here at Canadian E-Motorsports Network, action on iRacing. Jordy, welcome back to another Tuesday night of iRacing IndyCar action. How are you doing?
I am doing all right here, doing real good as a matter of fact, knowing that we've got the level of excitement that we have regarding being back at this particular track. We've kind of hyped it up all season, quite honestly, and the fact that we're here, good times, sir.
Indeed. So the memories coming back from, of course, last year's running of this race, the chaotic finish that it produced, 6 cars going at it in a single pack for the win, then they all crashed together turn 4 on the final lap, and a certain guy by the name of Ty Higginbottom slides across the line after flying up in the air, as a matter of fact, and he just barely beat the guy that was back in 7th place, over 2 seconds back behind that pack, and he made his way all the way up towards the front, almost a first, but fell just short by 26 one-thousandths of a second. And again, it's going to be a lot different here this year now with the Dallara IR18 now using the real-life IndyCar, but I can only imagine compared to the Dallara IR01, I'd say the racing product compared to last year probably will be a little bit better, I'd say.
You would hope it's a little bit more stable, certainly, if we still wind up with the dramatic finishes, it seems like that happens no matter what we're driving, so it feels like, almost a guarantee that it's going to happen that way. But, you always love seeing fireworks at this particular track.
Indeed. So before we get to all the action that we anticipate here tonight at the virtual Auto Club Speedway here for the second annual Forked River 250, let's go back to last Tuesday, which hosted rounds 5 and 6 for the AJ FOYT Cup and rounds 12 and 13 for the overall Greg Moore Cup, starting off with twin number 1 for the Bangarang 250, otherwise known as the Bangarang Twin 125s. Twin number 1, Jordan Kalenian, first career win in the IndyCar Series, quite a long time coming. It's been a consistent and solid season for the IndyCar Series rookie and the reigning NASCAR Series Rookie of the Year. He led 75 of 125 laps, and he was able to hang on over 3 cars that were charging towards him towards the end. And it's incredible how he's able to hang on over those guys, but throughout those final 10, 15, 20 laps or so, we pretty much kept saying that it seemed like those 3 guys behind him were trying to really fight for second rather than trying to go for the win.
Yeah, well, it was a byproduct of trying to go for the win. Just ultimately they couldn't break away from one another, and instead of kind of collectively working together to try and reel Jordan Kalenian in, the 00, as if he needed any more help, he was more than happy to be the beneficiary of that particular squabble for 2nd through 4th, like you said. And as you mentioned, kind of a long time coming for him, but it felt like he was going to break through sooner rather than later. And sure enough, Iowa proved to be the ideal ground for him to get the job done.
Absolutely. So there are the results right there, the full race results for the first of the Bangarang Twin 125s. Kalenian was followed up by a 7-time winner this season and fellow rookie Bradley Sexton, 2nd place, Corbin MacAulay running at the podium, and then Andy Hertel was also within that 4-car battle for the win towards the end. And again, quite the different dynamics between the 2 twin races, as twin number 1 was under the lights. There was no sun. The track conditions were nearly as harsh. There was a lot more grip, a lot more closer racing. And then it was a completely different story in twin number 2, where the sun was full ablaze on the track. Conditions were a lot harsher, kind of similar circumstances back to the Indianapolis 500 a couple weeks back. And this is where this guy decided to take advantage and lead most of the race and go on to finally break a long winless streak, which had gone all the way back to, ironically, the second twin race of last year's running of this event, the number 17 of Corbin MacAulay for MacAulay Racing out of Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. He scored his first win of the season, and yet another AJ FOYT Cup race where we headed yet another different winner.
Yeah, I mean, in Corbin's case, I think it was just the vibes finally started to turn around for him because, I mean, a lot of guys know that he was kind of getting a bit hard on himself, so to speak, over the last few weeks, that the results weren't necessarily there despite the speed. But, sometimes it just takes one race to completely reverse the feelings. And, after leading 112, I think we said, out
Correct.
of 125 laps, somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, that to me would suggest that the guy is, at least for one moment anyway, found his form. We'll see if he can build on it for the remainder of the season.
Absolutely. Here now the full race results for Banger and Twin 125, number 2, of course, as I was saying there, MacAulay getting the victory, breaking, I believe it was a 15 race winless streak. I believe the numbers are correct right there. Andy Hertel with yet again another great finish to wrap up his night at Iowa Speedway. Again, he was pretty close to MacAulay for the most part, despite how more spread out the whole racing was compared to Twin number 1. Fell short by just under 2 seconds behind the number 17, but nonetheless, 4th and 2nd place finishes. Great for the driver that debuted with 499 Racing at the virtual Iowa Speedway 2, as a matter of fact. And then, of course, teammate Bradley Sexton there with yet again another podium finish. William Kern, Jason Heaney rounding at the top 5. And may I just say, what a hell of a doubleheader it was for the number 9 of Jason Heaney. Qualifying on the pole in twin number 1, went on to score a top 5 finish. Twin number 2 qualifies a little bit more back in 7th place, but was able to come around with yet again another top 5 finish.
Yeah, certainly one of those under the radar stories from last week, but encouraging to see a guy like Jason Heaney sticking it out as much as anything else. The fact that he's stayed committed to everything over the course of the season, and we've seen his ability to run toward the head of the field on a few different occasions, and not surprised that he was able to convert that kind of strong run into 2 really solid finishes last week.
Indeed. Jordan Kalenian wasn't able to repeat what he was able to do in twin number 1 as he came home in sixth place after qualifying in 6th. 13 cars started twin number 1, and then 11 started twin number 2. There were a couple of guys that really went through a lot of misfortune in both races, especially the number 1 of C.D. Magram, who ended up finishing 3rd to last. It was 11th out of 13 cars, or pretty much 11th in both races, except, again, with the more cars in twin number 1, it caused him to finish a couple spots ahead of last, but then with only 11 cars participating in twin number 2, he ended up finishing last, so he's certainly going to look to have a massive resurgence here tonight at Auto Club Speedway, finally score a win here this season. But now we might as well get to the driver points standings, of course, starting off with the Greg Moore Cup, where, Jordy, you and I were talking before the broadcast started about the 21 of Bradley Sexton, 153-point lead over Andy Hertel. You were saying to me, he pretty much could just clinch the title tonight if he just takes the green flag, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I have to look at Aptioneering here. We've gotten up to 14 cars now. I think that still holds with the 2 additional people that we added since we had this discussion. Because anything after 10th, you're going down just by 1 point increments each time. So now that there's 14, minimum 16 in the field, or minimum 16 points for every driver, so that would put Sexton on 589. And the max that any driver is able to pick up over the course of any particular race is 53 points. So, yeah, the closest Andy Hertel could get if he was to sweep absolutely everything from here on to the end. And I mentioned him specifically since he's the only one mathematically eligible to do so. The closest he could get is 579, and that's with Sexton having, say, blue screen of death on his iRacing computer right about now. Otherwise, if he takes one of the 3 green flags, he's golden.
And to essentially put it here, with Sexton, of course, having this 153-point lead going into tonight here at Auto Club Speedway, to put it into perspective, going into round 10 back at Indianapolis, where he eventually finally got his first career oval win in the IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis 500, he was plus 60. Between Indy and Iowa, he went from plus 60 to plus 153. So there was a couple races back where there was still some opportunities for guys like Andy Hertel, Charlie Sears, even Jordan Kalenian in there. But then through about 4 races or so, I believe that's what it is right there, he surged his way all the way to the top, and he could pretty much clinch a overall championship here tonight and, continue on that chase towards trying to claim all 3 championships. Already he has 1 so far with the Mario Andretti Cup, which he clinched back at the Belle Isle Grand Prix just a couple of weeks back. So other than that right there is some battles brewing throughout the rest of the field. Outside of first place, Hertel jumped over Sears as the number 32 DNF'd in twin number 1 at Iowa, and then twin number 2 he did not start, so he dropped drastically. So Hertel might be on his way to finishing in second place unless some drastic stuff happens there. Maybe Sears catches back up. Maybe Jordan Kalenian continues his momentum from Iowa last Tuesday. There's a bunch of shifting around midfield or so, but the championship battle that we certainly have to keep an eye on going into tonight, since it's the penultimate race for the Oval Championship, the AJ FOYT Cup. Holy moly, has this ever been close every single week. It has kind of spread just a little bit after the 2 twin races back at Iowa, but currently Bradley Sexton leading the way by 7 points over Andy Hertel. That's quite the difference between 153 points for the overall championship. Kalenian and Kern, 2 points separating them there for third place. And Corbin MacAulay has caught his way up like hell after the Iowa doubleheader with his, of course, third and first place finishes. There was a time a couple races back where he was 13th. Now he's 5th.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic turnaround of form for him. You have to, well, I guess he did have a good finish in the first of the twins as well, though there was a spin in there, I do recall. So,
yes,
not necessarily the smoothest of sailing, but hey, still managed to get the job done. But on the other side of things, I'm kind of pouring one out for poor CD Mangrum here. Like,
oh yeah,
6th right now, but the week he had last week, he should still absolutely be in the top 3, but that's not how it worked by any stretch of the imagination.
And yeah, it's kind of similar situations points-wise in terms of dropping all the way down for guys like Steven Ellis and Charlie Sears. Ellis missed both of the Iowa races, and Sears, of course, DNF'd and DNS'd out of the 2 races, so they dropped entirely out of the title battle. They could still try to go for some good finishes in the top 10, maybe by some miracles get up towards the top 5, but at this point they're just going to be going for wins as their teammates Bradley Sexton and Andy Hertel go for the championship. It's now pretty much come down to 4 cars for the title with 2 races remaining, and again, with Auto Club tonight, Nashville Super Speedway coming up, there's no doubt that things are going to ramp up even further here tonight and in another 2 Tuesdays, of course, on December 17th. But now might as well move on to the other point standings, as qualifying for the second annual Fork River 250 is just about to come to a close. Rookie of the Year standings, I can only imagine 573 points versus 390 between Sexton and Kalenian. I assume the 21 has already mathematically clinched the award by far.
Done, yeah.
Yeah, that one's completely done there. Of course, not as much of a difference there between Kalenian and Kern, 50 points separating them, but Kalenian looks to be well on his way to clinching second, at least in the running here for Rookie of the Year. Still 3 races remaining. Things could still happen. Jason Heaney and Steven Ellis, I completely forgot to switch their points, so that's on me. that should be completely flipped right there, but we'll just move on from that. And then we get to the Nations Cup where,
this was done 2 months ago.
Exactly. But despite that, I'm going to give some praise to Canada The Canadian drivers that participated in the Iowa doubleheader last week actually did pretty impressive, especially the number 17, who pretty much carried the fort the whole way. But other guys in there like Mark Ouellet, Mike Marini, Hunter Young all place solid finishes throughout the two races. Ouellet got 6th in twin number 1, 9th in twin number 2. For example, Marini with finishes of 8th and 7th. Young got finishes of 10th and 8th. So not too bad out of them necessarily. Of course, the United States completely dominated as per usual, but still, nonetheless, some impressive performances out of the Canadian drivers.
Yeah, I mean, in some circumstances, like it should be noted that we have Dan Cudmore listed as our 5th headshot there on the Canadian side. He completed one of the 2 twins last week, so
yes,
maybe not the best showcase, but for the ones who did show up for both, they acquitted themselves relatively well.
And so with all that being said, that wraps up everything from last week. And of course, we now move on to the action that is about to come here tonight at the virtual Auto Club Speedway near Fontana, California. The final opportunity for all of you watching right now, the live audience, to catch some guaranteed pack racing, some super speedway style calamity. These guys duking it out all close together. This is pretty much going to be a repeat in ways of Michigan. The kind of the motto that we used back at Michigan, however long ago that was it actually came from Bryce Fontaine specifically. Talladega on steroids. I'd imagine tonight's probably about times 2 of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Michigan was one of the races that I missed out on in the midst of, I believe I was moving at that point, or I was just settling here whenever that was going on. But, I mean, if Michigan's Talladega on steroids, consider Auto Club to be the devil because, it's pretty much a guarantee that something crazy is going to go down. You just don't know when, don't know how. You just know there's going to be something, and you have to be ready for it.
Well, I mean, if we were calling Michigan Talladega, then I'd say Auto Club is more than likely going to be closer to the fictional Coca-Cola Super Speedway, or maybe it's iRacing Super Speedway. Don't know what exactly it is, or the Monza Oval.
Yeah, that might not be far off either, actually.
And we already have Stephen Ellis being a keyboard warrior in the chat.
Oh boy, I guess this is where I have to actually pull up the YouTube feed here just to see what in fact he's saying.
And as you are doing that, might as well get into of course, I might as well get into the iRacing voice chat here, send these guys a quick message through Race Control and get these engines fired up for 125 laps and 250 miles. It's the 2nd annual Forked River 250 at the virtual Auto Club Speedway in the state of California, round 14 of 16 for the Greg Moore Cup and round 7 of 8 for the AJ FOYT Cup. Coming up soon. Stay tuned. It's actually a bit of a change of plans here. We're going to have the engines fired up a little bit more naturally after we introduce the starting lineup here on pit road, so that these guys can get to green almost immediately. We get the race analysis over with and everything. So let's introduce the cars and stars of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, who are going to do battle tonight here at the virtual Auto Club Speedway to go for the win in the second annual Fort River 250. Starting on the front row, on the pole here, once again, is the driver of the number 31 Hyperdrive eSports car to Dansville, New York, looking to add another win on his resume this season. That is William Kern. To his outside, the driver that's looking to clinch the Greg Moore Cup here tonight and go 2 out of 3 thus far in championships this season. The 7-time winner this season, looking for his second oval win of season 3. The driver of the number 21 499 racing car to Fishers, Indiana, is Bradley Sexton. Moving on to row number 2 now, where we have the driver of the 00 car to Salisbury, North Carolina, looking to have 2 wins in the last 3 races, including tonight here after winning back at Iowa Speedway last Tuesday in twin number 1. That is Jordan Kalenian. Alongside him, looking for his second oval win of the season, the driver of the number 46 499 racing car to Mississauga, Ontario, your Michigan winner, that is Stephen Ellis.
All right, and rounding out the top 5, we head to St. Catharines, Ontario, where we find the number 77 GTR Motorsports entry of Hunter Young starting in 5th place. And then we have Benedict Arnold himself, the defector to 499 Racing, the number 7 of Andy Hertel out of Dayton, Ohio, starting in 6th. Then we move on to row 4, where we have another 499 driver. This one, of course, the defending series champion, the number 32 of Charlie Sears out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Of course, the winner a few weeks ago at Mid-Ohio on the roads there. And a nice little welcome back to Jose Mercado in the number 41 GTR Motorsports entry out of Kissimmee, Florida. He'll start this one 8th.
And now rounding at the top 10, we have a pair of Canadians here on row number 5. Starting on the inside is the driver of the number 12 car to Thunder Bay, Ontario. That is Mike Marini. And the driver looking to go back-to-back in victories after winning the second twin race at Iowa Speedway last Tuesday. The driver of the number 17 MacAulay racing car to Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. That is Corbin MacAulay. Row number 6, pioneering the number 13 Central Flyaway racing car to Colby, Kansas, looking for his first IndyCar win in a very long time. That is Jared Ireland. Alongside him, pioneering the number 15 Storm Surge eSports car to Middlesex, North Carolina, looking for his first win of the season. That is Kyle Knoll.
Hey, look at that. We got ourselves a row 7. And on that row 7, we begin with the number 1 Tornado Alley e-racing entry of CD Mangrum out of the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia, starting 13th. And rounding out the field, representing First Gear Racing out of Pefferlaw, Ontario, the number 80 of Mark Ouellette, who we understand is, dealing with a ton of snowstorms up there. So, stay safe up there, bud.
So the drivers have made their way off of pit road here. Here is your race analysis here for tonight's Fort River 250, or today's. Again, it's daytime, of course, in the iRacing service. 125 laps, 250 miles. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour. The fuel window is going to be around 33 to 36 laps. That's the estimated range. Of course, the only available tire compound is the oval primaries. Only one compound on the ovals, of course, and full course yellows are on, and I have no doubt we might witness multiple of them tonight.
Yeah, I think the flagman's arm is going to be hurting quite a bit before the night's through.
And I have no doubt some drivers' hearts might be broken tonight, too.
Yeah, that feels almost inevitable here.
And to give credit to these guys, even though the car count hasn't been perfect this season, we have one more car compared to the 13 cars that we had in last year's running of this race. So to the 14 cars and stars of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, best of luck to each and every one of you tonight here at Auto Club. The green flag is out for the Fort River 250, the second annual running.
Yeah, and it looks like Kern's gotten himself off to a pretty decent start here. Just kind of hugging that inside line to begin with anyway.
Down the backstretch, it looks as though we're going to go 3 wide for the lead into 3 and 4. That's Sexton, Kern, and Ellis. 3 lanes through 3 and 4 down the front stretch. It looks like Kern is going to lead that lap as MacAulay just about got his left side tires there in the grass down the front stretch. A little bit wobbly, but he keeps it going just fine.
And that's the thing drivers seem to love about Auto Club, is the fact that there are, in fact, so many lines that you can drive on this particular track and still be effective over the course of 2 miles.
And just to get an idea what these drivers are dealing with here at the virtual Auto Club Speedway, these guys are going well over 220 miles per hour, all packed together with all this draft, all this slipstream and everything. Just crazy speeds, lots of lanes to choose from, multi-groove racing, pack racing. It's essentially just, you get that flashback back to what some people argue was the greatest IndyCar Series race of all time in real life, the 2015 MAV TV 500, which tragically was also the final real-life race at Auto Club for the IndyCar Series.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of track where, I think we mentioned it last week, you've got to be locked in from the minute that green flag drops, or else, you either have guys passing you on one side or another, or, it doesn't take much to get yourself off kilter here either.
Now that I think about it, tragically might not be the best word to use, because I know there are a lot of drivers that complain about the safety aspect of this kind of racing. Of course, 220 plus miles per hour with these very fragile American open wheel cars on such a wide and fast track like that. I mean, again, you get the flashbacks back to something, Dan Weldon back at Las Vegas, 2011, I believe it was. So again, there's all that, but again, thank goodness this is iRacing and not real life. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the example, of course, that I go back to is the namesake of the series itself, right on this track, Greg Moore in '99.
Exactly. This is the track that unfortunately took his life, so we're absolutely doing this in honor of him here at the virtual Auto Club Speedway, as we have the most recent winner in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series from the middle of the pack there, about in the grass on the front stretch coming to lap 2. He's now on the outside looking for the lead against the 7-time winner this season, Bradley Sexton.
And, if you keep your foot in it, that's just how quickly you can make up positions. So, as I was saying, if you're able to stay locked in, you can kind of make things happen here, and you're seeing Corbin MacAulay certainly trying his best to do just that.
There's another Iowa Speedway winner trying to join the mix here. Drops right into the inside. It was behind MacAulay, and then he goes back up high, trying to make it 3 wide here for the lead once again.
Yeah, I might have to keep an eye on that coming through turn 2 next time, because it's a pretty dramatic dive the Kalenian takes out of 2 to get into the slipstream, but it at least seems to work, albeit briefly.
A couple of these guys have been making some drastic moves early on here in this Forth River 250, and you were attesting to earlier about, thank goodness, that the stability with these IR18s is a lot better compared to the IRL1s that the drivers ran in the Dart Series last year. And we all know how that turned out for most of the season. But now here with the IR18, of course, some drivers have some PTSD back from Belle Isle a couple weeks back. But again, the point stands.
Oh, exactly. Just as this 3 wide seems to want to stand here.
Yeah, these guys are not giving up. They want to go for the lead early on here. I wonder if Will Kern might try to make it a little interesting here, try and make it 4 wide at some point just to put on a show.
Oh, I mean, man. He's right there. Certainly. Well, I mean, nobody's really off the pace here so far. like 1 through 14 are separated by what, a second and a half? Let me look closer at the timing. Yeah, 1.2 seconds. Separating the entire field.
That's why I've said multiple times to you and on, of course, with the social media posts across all social media channels that this is the one final race this season where anybody could have a shot at winning, because Laguna Seca, I have no doubt that guys like Bradley Sexton, Charlie Sears, we might see another battle of those guys. Maybe guys like Jordan Kalenian, William Kern start to get within the mix on the road and street course side of things. And then there's Nashville Super Speedway, where you're going to have guys like, it's not going to be all packed together, but it's still going to be some pretty good racing, especially with guys trying to figure out the tire wear that track is going to put on them.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we talk about the dramatics that a track like Auto Club produces, of the 3 remaining, it still has the most oddly predictable vibe, if that makes sense.
Again, I said going into tonight that even though the car count this season has obviously been very unstable, very inconsistent up and down, the motto quality over quantity has certainly proved itself from time to time, and this just so happens to be one of those races, because look at some of the names here that are going at it here early on. A bunch of different race winners here this season, a lot of midfield guys, underdogs, like the parity and the quality, despite having such a low quantity, is insane.
Yeah, and again, it's a testament to the guys kind of figuring out the car over the course of the season as well, because we saw what those gaps were the first couple of weeks, and now you've got guys who are not afraid to go wheel to wheel here, so to speak. And you have guys who are, feeling a little bit more confident in, how they're doing behind the wheel, although that's probably a bad on board to say that about, but
that's the 77 of Hunter Young that goes around down the front stretch in the grass, backs into the wall, but we remain green.
We do, mainly because he stayed out of harm's way, perhaps.
Does look to be that way, yes. Although I'm sure the 77 probably is not happy with how that outcome turned out.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you've got this pack, and as soon as you lose the draft, it is hard to get it back, and that looked fairly self-inflicted from what I'm seeing.
Car just went left, almost completely around, back up the track, isn't able to control it. This pack is about to catch up to him as he heads to pit road.
Yeah, so that'll be, one lap down for sure. We'll see if it turns into 2. But yeah, the first incident of the evening goes into the books with the number 77. But again, we soldier on.
So it continues to be pretty much 4 or 5 cars duking it out here for the lead in these early laps of the second annual Forked River 250. But it's been mainly Sexton, MacAulay, and Kalenian pretty much keeping it 3 wide for many consecutive laps. And they're not afraid to be tight.
No, and I mean, part of that is you have to be able to trust each other on track as well. And, this is the fact that we're able to see this, and having Ellis and Kern kind of serving as second line wings, so to speak. It speaks to, again, the testament and the ability of our drivers here in the series to be able to do things hard but fair.
Yeah, that certainly has been proved a lot this season here, as it looked like MacAulay dropped back a little bit there. Kalenian now going to try to take advantage of that, go to the outside of Sexton, or technically the middle groove. So that's going to give room for MacAulay to then swap with Kalenian. There is almost looking like Kern was trying to find some room up high to make it nearly 4 wide.
Yeah, Kern was trying to make the move as MacAulay was trying to find that right groove as well. And like you said, it briefly looked like it was going to get to 4 wide, but at that point, you're taking some chances, man.
Ooh, Sexton got a little bit tight there through 3 and 4 as the 17 has cleared the way for the lead. And that's going to be his first lap led of the night.
And with it, the 1 bonus point, as it happens for every driver who leads a lap.
Riding on board with a couple different drivers here. This is the perspective that they have at well over 220 miles per hour around the virtual Auto Club Speedway. Now lap 21, MacAulay leads another lap. Kern dives underneath Sexton, using that slipstream down the front stretch. Slides up just a little bit, had to back off.
Yeah, but notably was able to clear Kalenian in that same burst, as well as Kalenian and Ellis continue to fight for 5th and 6th. Or no, I had that dyslexic for a second, I do believe. Just watch what's on the screen, folks. Don't mind me. I'll be over in the corner somewhere.
There's another drastic dive.
Speaking of going into a corner, how about that?
And I was just about to say, as that happened right there, there's the guy that's, we were talking earlier about how much of a, just how much bad luck he had back at Iowa Speedway last Tuesday, and now he's up here looking to potentially battle for the lead early on here in this Forked River 250s. I think Ellis might have tapped the wall there and won.
Yeah, maybe. He's dropped down to 6th. But we'll have to see if the 46 is able to keep things on the straight and narrow here. Looks like this preliminary pack of 5 wants to try and get a little bit of separation, but that's not the name of the game with these cars. I wouldn't be surprised to see them all bunched up here again relatively quickly.
Now, even though it's still early on in this race, it's still great to see this guy back up towards the front after crashing out in both of the Iowa races last Tuesday. This will certainly give a lot of confidence and momentum to this driver, the number 1 Tornado Alley Racing Nordic Aluminum IR18. If he could lead a lap, maybe a couple laps, and be able to carry that on throughout the rest of this night.
I mean, there's no doubting that the guy has a ton of speed. I mean, how many pole positions does he have this year? It's a few, and including the big one at Indy. So it's not like there's, as I said, a shortage of skill or speed behind CD Mangrum. Just, yeah, whenever the green flag flies, it just seems like anything and everything that could happen does, and it's often at his expense.
Mangrum won the pole at both Michigan and Indianapolis, so in terms of short run speed and getting those quick laps, he certainly knows how to do it around the big ovals. Only qualified 13th though tonight, but what a hell of a surge it's been for him. As man, oh man, look at that, Sexton up high, Kalenian down low. Ellis trying to join the mix after it looked like he may have scraped the wall a little there and won a couple laps back. But he's running as if nothing has happened to him whatsoever, and quite frankly, that might have just been deceiving what we had seen there a couple laps ago.
Yeah, I mean, we continue seeing guys just trying to find that one spot that's going to work, and you're going to find even more jostling here as we are getting close to that first expected fuel window in the 33 to 36.
Ooh, Kalenian got sideways.
What a save.
I barely heard a reaction inside my room there.
Well, I mean, he held on, was able to escape anything, so I think relief for everyone in the vicinity.
That definitely shook up the pack a little bit there as racing got a single file compared to everybody kind of all over the place. But yeah, as you were saying, that first green flag pit window was starting to approach pretty rapidly. 5, 6, 7 laps away from us, so was we were talking about Kalenian shaking things up, single file racing. Now look at the slipstreams out of the guys there behind the 17.
Well, I mean, when you get into that single file racing for a little bit, these things can happen. But now we're back into the more kind of traditional double file format here, at least for the first couple of rows. And yeah, we'll just see who decides to push here, as that's Young coming back onto the track. Excuse me.
He was in his box for 6 minutes and 54 seconds. He is 14 laps down, so that leaves us with 13 cars left on the lead lap. Ouellette is completely away from that front pack now, which is a second and a half between first and 12th. Ouellette's back in 13th. As these guys continue to duke it out here, coming to lap 31 of 125. MacAulay will be approaching 10 laps led. Kern has won. Sexton has 18. Kalenian has won. Magrum still has yet to lead a lap. Ellis and Sears still have yet to lead a lap.
Get them the bonus points.
Am I fair to say it does feel a little? It feels a little spooky that we might have the Greg Moore. The Greg Moore Cup is essentially clinched at the you-know-what track.
I mean, in a way, yeah. I get what you're saying.
But I mean, if Sexton were able to win this race and then have that title clinched earlier, though, man, oh man, would that would that ever be a feel-good moment for him?
It would, and I mean, it also, takes all the drama out of Laguna Seca next week.
Yes.
But still plenty left for Nashville, regardless of what happens, I would suggest. But, 2 out of 3 isn't bad so far.
Yeah, I mean, the Greg Moore Cup, the Marion Andretti Cup, he already clinched back at Belle Isle, and then, of course, Greg Moore Cup, pretty much the exact same situation where he was light years ahead of everybody else. But again, there still is that AJ FOYT Cup, that Oval Championship. Again, only 7 points. Go figure, 7 between him and the number 7 of Andy Hertel, who's all the way back in 11th. It looks like he's kind of playing a bit of a patience game as his teammates are really duking it out up towards the front. Although we do recall from last year's running of this event, Hertel wrecking out with about 10 to 15 laps to go. It was him and about 2 other drivers that wrecked together in turn number 1, which led to that late race restart and that 6-car pack going at it for the win.
Yeah, they did, and we'll have to see, as you said, if that bit of scar tissue sticks around. But now, this will be kind of the first opportunity for the drivers to put their cards on the table, so to speak, because if they follow the kind of expected fuel window.
Oh! There goes Mercado. Multiple cars up in the air. Big crash on the back stretch.
Oh!
Stephen Ellis upside down. Caution.
Oh, man. Well, throw everything I was about to say out the window. Because, yeah, that pretty much guarantees everybody's coming in at their first opportunity.
I knew that was coming at some point. I just didn't think it'd be that early.
Yeah, we'll have to see what exactly went down here. We know Stephen Ellis went up, but we don't know what went down to make him go up.
And that also was about about to come in the midst of the first green flag pit window, too, so that's certainly going to shake things up. But man, oh man, how did that happen?
Let's just see.
Oh, boy. Mercado goes up, not clear. Ellis up in the air, tire-to-tire contact with somebody. Not exactly sure who that was. Man, that was a wheel. Oh, it's out of his teammate, Andy Hertel.
Man, oh man.
Oh, it was the commentator's jinx.
Pretty much. Like, I was literally, as I said, just about to talk about whether or not we'd start to see some different things happening. Again, maybe some different estimations from pit stops, which, speaking of, it looks like everybody's in now as predicted. But yeah, what I was going to get at was if there were guys who could stretch to 41, 42 laps, they might have been able to get this done with a 2-stop strategy instead of 3. But now that we've had this yellow, I would suggest it's a conventional 3-stopper at minimum.
And so on lap 35, the big one strikes. And it looks like that's going to take Andy Hertel out of the race. I have no doubt Steven Ellis, maybe Jose Mercado, will be out in a matter of time. But
yeah.
Yes, everybody did just make their way,
not everyone.
Yes, not everyone, but most cars, I believe.
Yeah, the only one who has not come in is one Jared Ireland.
Interesting.
And that'll give us a sense of the tire life when it comes to the white wall compounds. Of course, no tire compound changes necessary since we're at an oval. We only have the one. But yeah, we'll have to see all the... Oh, no, maybe that was just delaying the inevitable for Ireland. It looks like he's in now.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, there's no way he could go any further than that. Might just be a thing of just sticking to the back of the field. Something like that. He had to pit. But nonetheless...
Although Kyle Knowles now in for a second stop, which is a little peculiar.
Maybe topping off. Potential penalty. I'd say probably topping off is the safest bet, but nonetheless, under caution here for the first time here tonight in the second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. Of course, the big one just happening a couple laps ago, collecting 2 499 racing guys who were both out of the race. That's Andy Hertel and Steven Ellis. Jose Mercado still in his pit box at almost 3.5 minutes now. Hunter Young still remains in this one, 14 laps down, but he's going to leapfrog his way to 11th in just a matter of time, as it looks like the pace car lights are off and all these guys are up on the high side, so that does indeed indicate that we are going back to green flag racing on lap 39 of 125 with Corbin MacAulay pioneering the field. So we are now down to 10 cars, I believe, left on the track, or actually 11. 10 on the lead lap, 11 altogether. Green flag. MacAulay leads the way.
Yeah, just a sensible restart here from MacAulay, it looks like, at least in the early going, although we'll see what Bradley Sexton has to say about that here before too long.
Yep, the most recent oval race winner versus your Indianapolis 500 winner side by side for the lead. At the line, I believe Sexton barely led that one. Kalenian, Kern, Magram trying to get within the mix. Sears not too far back. He slid up the track real good there through 1 and 2. Marini, Knoll, Ireland, and Ouellette rounding up the top 10. Ouellette looking for another solid finish after some solid runs back at Iowa Speedway. Definitely improvements after last year crashing out in one or both of the... Yeah, I believe it was both of the races. Maybe had some airtime, too, at one point with Jason Butler.
Yeah, I mean, airtime because of his airtime. That's pretty much what he wound up with, unfortunately, because we spent a lot of time watching it afterward.
Indeed, we did. We have a number 22 Bryce Fontaine tuned into our live chats. So as much as we do miss having him here on the racetrack, we are happy that he is still tuned in with us here for this Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar action on iRacing.
Yeah, and shout out to Bryce and the family there as well, obviously, given the circumstances noted in the YouTube chat. Good to see you hanging around, though.
Yes, thoughts and prayers, of course, going to the Hyperdrive Esports driver at Laverne, Tennessee. Hopefully we can have him back at Laguna Seca and or Nashville Super Speedway to round out Season 3 of the IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue.
Yeah, Nashville would be a fitting return, certainly, at the very end. The old home state course. Or home state track, I should say.
And man, oh man, would he ever be just keeping his fingers crossed and the season on a high note, just knowing how his luck has been throughout the year, especially on in one particular form of racecraft.
Yeah, this one.
See, ending off the season in his home state at the kind of circuit where he's been struggling all season. Hopefully try to make it and end the year off on a high. As I was saying that was some a little close for comfort pack racing there through 3 and 4.
Yeah, the boys don't mind dancing on the knife edge a little bit here, do they?
Yeah, even with 11 cars left on the track and 3 out, Jose Mercado officially out of this race, joining Hertel and Ellis in the DNF group.
Mm-hmm.
Still putting on a hell of a show, and yeah, Bryce just confirmed that he'll no doubt be with us for Laguna Seca, Nashville, so that's great to see. I would personally love it if he was able to pull off an incredible storyline, maybe get a win at either track, especially the homestay one, championship finale. That would be one hell of a way to end off the year as a whole for the series.
For sure. I mean, like, obviously for him over the course of this season, the lion's share of his success has been on the road courses, which I think is a little bit, maybe a touch of irony, given that he was coming over from the NASCAR series, but you know, such is life, and we all adapt.
Yep, that's what happens, the transition between the stock cars and the open wheel cars. To some guys, it gets at you.
Yeah, there's no guarantee of being able to get the handle of these particular beasts like right off the hop. In fact, I wouldn't expect anyone to. It's the kind of thing that, you know, takes time and practice, and you see, you know, the guys who are able to kind of rise above the field week after week. You see what they put into their craft.
And if we end up commencing a 6th season of NASCAR racing in 2025, then we're going to get pretty much the opposite effect with guys like, potentially with guys like Bradley Sexton and Stephen Ellis coming over. We'll see how they are on the stock car side of things, and just knowing that this group that we have here, and with the addition of those guys coming along, and hopefully seeing someone like William Kern run a full-time season, there'd be a lot of promise there for... we were saying Season 5 of the NASCAR Series was the most competitive of them all, especially after the momentum from our first season on iRacing back in Season 3 in 2020, or 4 in 2023, excuse me. Like that momentum continuing on with some of those newer guys, and having this kind of group all together, maybe even a couple newer guys as well, it would certainly be able to show off another promising season of NASCAR racing. As, geez, these guys, it's like a ticking time bomb every lap.
It certainly feels like it, but yeah, just to further that point, like, you get full seasons out of Will Kern and Bryce Fontaine as well. And
yes,
you mentioned, you know, the possibility of guys like Brad Sexton and Steven Ellis coming over. The fact that they just saw their teammate Charlie Sears go into championship 4 as a rookie. Oh,
geez, in two different positions. Sorry for interrupting there. MacAulay and Kalenian getting close, then Sexton and Kern almost making contact there. Continue with what you're saying.
You just had to get the right position there. I don't blame you. No, that's what I was getting at. Like, with Sexton and Ellis coming over, the fact that they would have just seen Charlie Sears make that transition and get to the championship 4 last season, like, there'd have to be an immediate sense of confidence that, you know what, they've seen that it can be done, so why can't they do it? So, you know what, it just gets, you know, that much better. Oh, I think there might have been a little touch between Kalenian and MacAulay, or at least it was very, very close.
Touch, netco, whatever it was close, no doubt, as this racing has consistently been all night. And especially after that big wreck we had on the backstretch, lap 35 or so. I'm surprised these guys are actually still keeping as tight as humanly possible.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just somehow able to carve out their little bit of space, with possibly the one exception, well, obviously Hunter Young being a few laps down, the exception on the lead lap being Mark Ouellette, who's drifted 6.5 seconds back from the main pack.
But in his case, he can certainly be happy that he is still on the lead lap, because there's still plenty of this racing remaining. And if we were to get a similar situation as to what happened last year on the final lap in turn 4, imagine if he was in the situation that Charlie Sears was in, and he was able to go on and win, fingers crossed that somebody else other than Ty Higginbottom doesn't skid across the line just ahead, barely.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta be there. Just have to be in it with a shot. It's all that matters.
And just knowing how this this racing product could play into the finish later tonight, going back to the past AJ FOYT Cup races, like Texas and Pocono, both were races that ended under yellow, but still had relatively close finishes. Lots of close racing. It was more Texas really that had the carnage overall. Then there was Michigan, where everybody was able to last about 70 to 80% of the race, and then we had 2 late cautions, including one for half the field wrecking. And then finally we were able to end the race under green with a photo finish between 2499 racing guys. Then there was Indianapolis, where everybody was spread out and passing wasn't possible. Just really full-on, close, tight, door-to-door, bumper-to-bumper action was just not possible because of the harsh weather and track conditions. Then there was Iowa Speedway, short track racing, different, again, condition dynamics, a little bit more racy in twin number 1. Twin number 2, kind of similar to Indianapolis, more spread out. Still almost close racing for the win late, but MacAulay, of course, still held on by about 2 seconds over Andy Hertel. Like, just, you think back to every one of those races, those descriptions I just gave off, and it's just insane all the different dynamics that we've been having. And now we have here, where so far here at Auto Club, early big one, these guys are racing tight, like ticking time bomb every single lap. Like, you just hear how much everything's just been building up every single oval week.
Yeah, I mean, no two races are created equal and thank God for that because, if they were, like, it'd be, I don't want to say a boring existence, but a more predictable existence, to say the very least. The fact that, yeah, we literally have no idea what's going to happen week to week once we hit one of these ovals. The fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, we still haven't had a repeat oval winner this year, correct?
Nope, not yet.
So, case in point, literally could be anyone's race on a given week.
And yeah, that one word, unpredictability, has perfectly described how the AJ FOYT Cup has been this season. And quite frankly, here being the penultimate race on that specific calendar, we still don't know yet who could come out with the championship. Quite frankly,
no. I mean, obviously we have it narrowed down to about 4, maybe 5 still in contention, but anything can still happen between here and Nashville as well. So. Nothing is set in stone on that side of the championship by any means whatsoever.
it was single file there from a first all the way back to the end of the pack, and then Kalenian charged up to the high side. Kern joins him. MacAulay all alone on the bottom, but hanging on for the most part. And, through all the races this season where we've been seeing like almost a consistent pattern of Bradley Sexton and Charlie Sears going at it, now we're getting back into the days of season 5 of the NASCAR series where we have these two guys up here at the front going at it, except now with the open wheel cars.
Yeah, I mean, last week certainly provided an exhibit of that, and I'm sure in both drivers' cases they would have preferred to be having this earlier in the season where it might have meant a little more than it does, although obviously it still has its significance in the FOYT standings. But what you're really seeing is drivers who just won't give up. They're just gonna stick around and maximize the performance as much as they possibly can.
So all the drivers within the top 5 right now have won a race this season. The one up front driver after all that is CD Mangrum there back in 6th place. He still has yet to pick up a race win. Of course, he does have 2 poles, as I mentioned earlier. Still, though, has yet to make that trip to victory lane after the race. It's before the race where he's great, but it's that result towards the post-race aspect that he still needs to, have Lady Luck on his side. And tonight could be a perfect opportunity at that. Of course, as we remember, too, though, he was the runner-up back in the Indianapolis 500. He certainly would have loved the conditions in the Indy 500 to have been a lot better towards him, considering how far in between him and Sexton, that distance there was between those two, and then John Poole III, who was on his way to 2nd place, but ended up running out of fuel coming to the line off of turn number 4, and Mangrum stole the runner-up position. But again, case in point, he certainly would have loved the weather conditions to have placed everybody a little bit closer together, kind of maybe have like a finish similar to the real-life Indianapolis 500 between Joseph Newgarden and Pato O'Ward.
Yeah, that was a beauty, wasn't it? Yeah, we just... that never really materialized, like you said. I mean, when track temperatures get up to, nearly 130 Fahrenheit or 54 Celsius, as they did that night, oh man, that is nightmare fuel for the tires. And even 39 here, I would consider manageable in the Auto Club layout tonight.
Well, you have been seeing these guys every now and then through the corners. At times they'll get loose, they'll get tight. Like we've seen a couple of times where these guys have been ever so slightly tapping each other Obviously the only instance where we've had, the full-out chaos happen, of course, was when Mercado, unfortunately, up high, not clear, turned up into Stephen Ellis, and then all that carnage ensued, of course. But other than that, another example, too, Kalenian going up the track, kind of shaking up the field, causing guys to get a little bit single file for about a lap or so.
Well, I think the fact that Auto Club does lend itself to racing multiple lines, it kind of covers up for that in a sense.
Yes.
Because guys can figure out what works best for them, and it seems like the ones who are left, they've certainly done so, as we're now well beyond the halfway point of this one.
Yes, we are multiple laps past halfway through the second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. We might as well take the time right now to thank each and every one of the sponsors and partners that are affiliated here with the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Of course, without each and every one of them, we wouldn't be able to be doing this every single Tuesday night. So, of course, a big thanks and shout-outs to Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, who, of course, have powered the NASCAR Series for a season now, and now, obviously, currently the IndyCar Series. Rampage Coffee Co., Piping Kettle Soup. Of course, tonight, Forked River Brewing Company for the Forked River 250. Bang-A-Ring Hard Seltzer last week at Iowa Speedway. Nordic Aluminum, the main sponsor for CD Magnum. GSGSG Vinyl 3D. GTR. And, of course, providing us with the incredible broadcast camera packages that you see in full live action here every single Tuesday night for Canadian E-Motorsports Network action on iRacing. TrackCams22.com. Thank you very much to them, as per usual, too.
I will say, while we're doing this kind of California swing here, I can't wait to see what our buddies at TrackCams22.com have come up with for the corkscrew section of the Laguna Seca circuit. Whether there's an overhead or one right at the bottom of the turn, that would be amazing to see everyone kind of navigating that elevation change. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'd say the packages for this season for the IndyCar Series have certainly over-exceeded expectations. I have no doubt Laguna Seca and Nashville Super Speedway are going to give us some incredible angles to wrap up this third season of IndyCar racing. And as these cameras are catching right now, it is all Corbin MacAulay up front, but now he's got pressure up high from William Kern. Both of these guys looking for their second win of the season. MacAulay looking to go back-to-back after winning Twin 125 number 2 at Iowa Speedway last Tuesday night. Would you look at this? Charlie Sears starting to make his way up towards the front. He is followed by Kalenian, then teammate Bradley Sexton there. So half of the 499 Racing powerhouse still remaining in this one up towards the front. So MacAulay and Kern looking for their second win. So is Sears and Kalenian. Sexton looking for his... He's looking for a second one oval-wise, but overall looking for 8 on the season.
Indeed, and Sears has been shut out on the oval side, of course, with that one win coming at Mid-Ohio. And speaking of things coming up, don't look now. We're getting close to what we expected to be the high end of the pit window. This is 36 laps on the current stint, so if these guys are able to last longer, and say another, give or take, I feel like 10 laps might be asking too much, but if they're able to do a little bit of squeezing, you never know. We might be looking at a situation where you could potentially one stop it instead of 2 from here. But that would be a big ask.
It's pretty much a waiting game to see when these guys are going to, as I'm saying that.
There you go.
The two NASCAR Series Season 5 boys down to pit road first.
And this is interesting because if they kind of maintain the same stint, so to speak, then they'd be forecast to probably pit with about 10 laps to go at the very end, which could provide a little bit more drama, as if we needed more.
Mark Ouellette making his way down as, wow, the rest of this pack here decides to stay out.
right. So, yeah, we'll see just how long some of these guys can stretch the tires and fuel in this particular stint, and we'll see what kind of an impact that has on MacAulay and Kalenian, especially as they try to make their way back up to the pack.
Another lap that this pack stays out, with William Kern leading the way over Magrum, Sears, Sexton, and Kyle Knoll, who's been relatively quiet all night here thus far, but certainly he's the kind of guy where we've seen him have flashes of brilliance every now and then, especially on the NASCAR side of things. We know that he has the skills and the speed every single week to contend for a great finish. But again, it's been a matter of luck, and there's been a lot of times where, of course, luck just hasn't been on his side. And again, thinking back to last year, whenever there were a whole bunch of surprises towards the end of this race, could it be Kyle Knoll that shocks everybody with an upset victory tonight?
I mean, if you're in the pack, you've got a shot. That's the main thing to consider here. As we see MacAulay and Kalenian trying to get back up to said pack. They're coming up on Mark Ouellette. But now we're getting to a very interesting point. If the group that's out here, if they can last until about, well, we're just starting lap 79 here now. If they can last until about lap 83 or 84, they could one-stop this.
I was just gonna say
that would be the pace.
I was just gonna say if we were to somehow go green the rest of the way, then these guys would probably have to come down pit road at least one more time. But this front pack right here might potentially, and some of them
got
at
a
least,
couple coming down.
some of them might be signaling that they might be going for that one stop.
Well, one
maybe.
green flag stop because everybody came in on the caution.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It'd be green flag. If we were to get a caution or two, that would certainly turn things around. Then everybody would have to figure that out and then get back together and have yet again an all-out war for the lead and for the win.
And notably, it was the 499ers who came down.
Oh, man.
Bit of a near miss.
Yep, something like that. So we're riding on board. The number one is CD Magrum. So as Kern... Kern made the decision to go to pit road. I think Magrum... the response there to him making the move down low might have been a little bit delayed. But thank goodness that did not result in anything catastrophic. As Magrum looks
held on, yeah.
Yeah, Magrum looks to lead his first lap, or second lap, excuse me, of the night. Yes, indeed, that's going to be 2 laps. He's followed by Jared Ireland as, again, the guys that did come down pit road, that's Kern and Marini, make their way off. Kyle Knoll making his way in.
Yeah, and I would have to think that anyone who's pitting from this point forward, they would have to think that they can get to the end. Like, I don't see another way around it.
Magrum makes the call to pit road this time on lap 82.
Yeah, and that makes Jared Ireland our last man standing.
So essentially, it's going to be Kalenian versus MacAulay going at it.
And Kalenian's just made the move for the net lead.
And then in behind them, a couple of cars still a lap down. That's Kern, Sears, or actually, no, not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, now that Ireland's in, everyone else is going to get back on the lead lap with the exception of Mark Ouellette.
So we'll rephrase that. It's Kalenian and MacAulay going after the lead, and then behind them is this pack of cars here, just under 5.5 seconds back. That's Sears, Kern, Sexton, Sears, Kern, Knoll, Marini, Magrum about 4 seconds back of them.
Yeah, and we'll see where Ireland rejoins the festivities here. Looks like he has settled in right around 8th.
Yeah, just ahead of Magrum.
But yeah, don't be surprised if, like, as good as this MacAulay-Kalenian battle could be, don't be surprised if that allows the 3 through 7 grouping to get on their tail relatively short order.
As that may or may not happen here within the next like 10, 20 laps, however long it may take. Don't you just love this? The shades of NASCAR Season 5.
Amazing what happens when you get guys who get familiar with cars, right?
Exactly. Especially, again, these two having won both of the Iowa races last Tuesday. The confidence in them certainly kicked up a hell of a lot more compared to past races, especially for the 17 in particular. And now here with tonight and the next 2 weeks, of course, still this to make it 2 oval races remaining, or 1.5, however you want to put it. And then Laguna Seca to wrap up the road and street course side of things here in Season 3 of the IndyCar Series. These guys want to end the season on the high note, even being far out of the championship battles. Although, quite frankly, it's not over just yet on the AJ FOYT Cup side of things, and you could make the argument with MacAulay there if something were to happen to, let's say, Sexton, maybe Kern in there as well. Like, don't fully count out these top guys.
No, I mean, there would be a lot of things that would need to happen in order to bring a couple drivers back into the equation, but the fact that they're getting back on form now, like, that is an encouraging end of the season, regardless of how you look at it and who you happen to be cheering for, because competition just breeds more competition, and it just makes everybody around them better. And that's what the presence of 499 over the last couple of seasons, I think, has done for, the majority of the field, is, that rising tide that lifts all boats scenario.
And certainly with Andy Hertel joining that group, there's no doubt that even though most of the team is in the scenario where they do return altogether for a Season 6 of the NASCAR Series, if we do just so happen to commence that in 2025, that powerhouse is going to carry on. It would carry on that situation with all 4 of those guys. Let's say that does happen. It's going to turn more, it's going to shift into more so of a mystery, because we know Hertel does have that experience, of course, from the past couple of seasons. Charlie Sears, not too bad of a regular season, but then in the playoffs, he really started to kick things up and his confidence started to get up there. He made the championship 4. Stephen Ellis, Bradley Sexton, in the scenario that they would join along for NASCAR. It'd be a mystery to see how they transition over to the stock cars. Like, you just hear all that, and certainly would make things really interesting, to say the least.
To say the least, yes. And I mean, you've seen how these guys have integrated within the series overall as well. Like, I have no doubt that, should they make the jump over to the NASCAR side, fully confident that it would be a positive impact there as well. And, just keeps making everything better and better and better, which is all we've ever really wanted.
So this pack in behind the 17 and the 00 is now at just under 4.5 seconds behind, with, I believe, 33 laps to go.
Yeah, not catching perhaps quite as quickly as I thought, but, maybe a little bit of conservation in play as well. Because, again, with the timing of MacAulay and Kalenian's pit stops, you'd have to think that they probably have to come in once more, whereas this chase pack, you could argue they're trying to get to the end as it is, but it's going to be an adventure regardless.
So Kalenian will be coming to 15 laps led tonight. I think he barely led that one there. The camera angle kind of changed a little bit, so it did almost look like as if MacAulay may have gotten the run on him and barely beat him to the line, but no. Kalenian 15 laps led, MacAulay at 40. That's quite the difference, but nonetheless, they continue to duke it out, kind of swapping leads back and forth. As this pack in behind them kind of getting back and forth between, it's in the 4.3 to 4.5 range every single lap. There's Sexton, 26 laps led. Sears still has yet to lead a lap. Kern's at 7. There's Marini in there, 0 laps led. Knoll hasn't led a lap. Magram's got 2. He's a lot further back than... He's about to be lapped, actually. Ireland just got lapped.
Yeah, I wonder if there was maybe a penalty or some scenario where they got like a lap down before, because I don't recall any, like there was the near miss for Magram, but I don't recall any incidents for those two.
Although, again, whenever everybody had made their pit stops, we did see Magram in Ireland about 3-4 seconds back, I believe it was, of Mike Marini, right around where in the positions where they are right now. So, again, 2-car pack compared to all the other guys, and then Kalenian MacAulay far ahead in their 2-car pack. Of course, they've shown better speed here tonight thus far. Like, you hear those differences, it does kind of make sense in a way, but at the same time, maybe we did, unfortunately, miss something that happened with the 1 and/or the 13.
Quite possibly. But what we certainly didn't miss, because it didn't happen, was any kind of interaction between our leaders and the lap traffic, which is fantastic to see.
It's now 5 seconds between that pack and the top 2.
And eventually, this pack will come up on this lapped duo as well. So they'll have to navigate that at some point. And you even see a little bit of a splinter between Kern and Marini, 5 and 6. There's more than a half a second between those two now. So even that chase group is starting to filter out a little bit.
Yeah, I could barely see them in the background there as the camera zoomed out, with the cars crossing the start-finish line. Now lap 99 of 125 in the second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. This pack has been falling back more than they have been catching up to. The won't say pack necessarily. I mean, you could count the lap cars in there, but again, it's just a 2-car battle here for the win at the moment. Again, not sure what's going to happen necessarily when it comes to fuel windows and everything. Who knows? Maybe something completely out of nowhere happens with any of these guys here together, where it's these 4 cars together, or it's these guys going at. Hopefully we don't have we had half a 499 race and be eliminated in that first big one earlier. Hopefully we don't have the other half somehow get together here in this late stage.
Now, one notable thing that's changed over the course of the evening, whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit, you're now looking at double-digit track temperatures, whereas it was in the triple digits before in the Freedom units, but down to 37 Celsius, as you can see, from 39, 40, I believe even 41 during qualifying. So what that should do is it should allow for a little bit more grip out there and for the tires to be a little bit more durable for, in the case of that chase group, ideally a final stint for them. But we'll have to see, whether or not MacAulay and Kalenian can make it where they are, or whether or not they're praying for another yellow to happen.
It's essentially a waiting game here to see if anything surprising happens. Again, remember back to last year, we in a way, we weren't exactly expecting what happened there with Andy Hertel and a couple of other guys there about 10 to 15, or it might be more so 8 to 10 laps to go in the first annual running of this race.
Yeah, so for context, you're looking at now a 28-lap stint here for both Kalenian and MacAulay. The lion's share of the chase pack is in the 22 to 23 range, with the exception of one Kyle Knoll, who's on his 21st lap on this current go-around. So we'll have to see what that ultimately looks like for our front runners. The gap continues to build up, but I have no faith in it building up to the point where, you know, they could effectively make a free pit stop and still get out ahead if nothing else was to happen. So yeah, I'm just wondering if they might have played this wrong.
Couple cars to pit road.
Team 499. This is very interesting. 24 laps. That's a shorter stint. I dare say unexpected.
So yeah, the leaders are going to be coming to 20 laps to go as the two remaining 499 racing drivers made their way to pit road. The little bit awkward exits there out of the both of them.
Yeah, a little bit of a fishtail there in the background. And yeah, we've got intrepid on-track reporter Jose Mercado suggesting still to keep an eye on CD Mangrum and Jared Ireland, perhaps for something that we may not have picked up on. Like, maybe they're considering a run to the end here as well, because they were the last two to pit, but obviously the gap was bigger. So you'd have to think from the time they came in, think pretty much a guarantee that they'd make it to the end now.
See, our race were we were thinking it was kind of going to be like a repeat of last year. Now is because again that big wreck that we had early on kind of changed things a little bit. Maybe the guys in here decided to. We still could get a caution out of nowhere, which is kind of what happened last year. There's like anything could still happen. Again, as I said earlier, it's a waiting game.
Yeah, but just how much longer will we be waiting? Because we're getting to the point where MacAulay and Kalenian are only a couple laps away from the longest stints they've had this entire evening. So do we think that they can go 53, 54 laps on the fuel? Not to mention the tires? I would suggest that would be a tall task.
Oh, they're both coming down.
You know what? Speak it into existence, right? So, yeah, I would say game on from here. And that's going to have Kyle Knoll inheriting the race lead.
I was talking about him earlier, remember?
You were. Well, now we can talk about him being in second.
Geez, how many commentators jinxes have we had happen tonight?
Enough.
I'd say my best bet is probably that last one was not the last one.
No, I think that's probably a more than fair assessment.
Yeah, Kalenian and MacAulay made their way down. That inherits.
You still talking there, Reegs? I don't know if I still have your audio.
I'm not sure if something happened there or not, but...
All right, I can hear you now, though.
But no, we're all good with 14 laps to go in the second annual Forked River 250 with Will Kern, Kyle Knoll, and Mike Marini, your current top three.
And notably, Charlie Sears is back on pit lane.
3 laps down. He's been in his box for over a minute.
Have to wonder what's going on there. We noted the big fishtail out of him as he was making his way out of pit lane last time.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be another series of unfortunate events for the 32, but we might have our bit players in this year's dramatics coming up here, as our top three are separated by 3.5 tenths of a second.
Yep, it's... It went from Kalenian MacAulay to now a 3-car battle on a very much different end of the racetrack here for the win with 12 laps to go, coming to 11 to go. And this is your leader currently looking for his second win on the year, and then you got Kyle Knoll, Mike Marini looking to go to victory lane for the first time ever.
And again, if something was to happen to this trio, then suddenly it would become Mangrum, Ireland, Kalenian, and MacAulay separated by a second.
And that could explain why Jose was saying keep an eye on those guys, but then you see the 00 and the 17 are quickly reeling them in.
Well, that would be a tire advantage now, as well as MacAulay and Kalenian came in 5 laps ago compared to, Ireland's now been passed, and he's on his 31st lap on those tires. Now Mangrum's been passed.
Yeah, they split Ireland and then dove down underneath the other two guys, so they're now ahead in the top 5. As then there's this top 3 here just coming off of turn number 4. Again, as I was saying, Kern looking for that second oval win. Knoll has never won in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, and then Marini looking to get back to victory lane within the network for the first time in years.
Yeah, well, it'd be his first oval victory, because the 2 official wins were both at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and then the Indy Roval All-Star race in Season 2 of the NASCAR Series. So, yeah, that's not yesterday, folks.
Getting more comments there to Mercado. Yes, of course, a reminder, yes, there is that fuel map, which has to do with the full power, and there's the full power and then the fuel savings. So that, again, the in-car adjustments that these guys are allowed for the oval races in particular do also play a factor in how these races turn out. And again, you know, the fuel and tire game that we're seeing here at the end certainly has been making things interesting, as these top 3 guys here are approaching 7 laps to go. Kern, Knoll, and Marini, and then MacAulay and Kalenian are on the other side of the track going down the backstretch side by side, 15 seconds back of that pack.
So, yeah, that top 3 is still within striking distance, ladies and gentlemen. So, for context, the last lap that MacAulay and Kalenian put in, 32.8. Last lap from each of the top 3, 35.4, a difference of 2.7 seconds per lap. You multiply that out, these 2 could catch them with probably a lap or 2 to go.
I remember the stints as well. Kern, Knoll are both at 38. Marini's now at 39. Kalenian and MacAulay are at 9.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is that Kalenian and MacAulay, they don't have to save anything, whereas these top 3 absolutely do. So they're just kind of waiting to be picked off almost, it feels like.
And yeah, and then Magram and Ireland are right in there behind them waiting to pounce too if something happens. Same with Sexton as well, because they're all on the lead lap. Magram and Ireland, of course, though, are on relatively similar stints to the top three. Sexton, though, he's at the 15-lap stint, so he could be a little bit better off. So there's a lot of different dynamics, different situations going on with these guys here within the top 8. Only 8 cars left on the lead lap with 4.5 now laps to go for Kern, Knoll, and Marini. But you can see the 17, the double zero are catching.
Yeah, that gap is now at 8.8 seconds and dropping like an anchor between Kern at the head of the field and Kalenian.
There goes Knoll. If these guys can make it, it is going to be these three. It could be these 3 guys duking it out, or it could be the 17, the double zero catching up somehow.
You're getting a pack of 5.
Yeah, we could get
guaranteed.
We could get a pack of 5 coming like around the final lap, or this top 3 somehow is able to stay long ahead enough and somehow make it to the end. But can they even make it to the end is the question too.
That's 100% the question here
and
now.
And Knoll is suddenly far ahead of these 2.
So I wonder if there's further conservation in play happening between Marini and Kern, because now suddenly the lap times have gotten faster again. Knoll 33.4 last time around. MacAulay still 32.7, whereas Marini and Kern 34.1 and 34.5 respectively. So maybe there was just an
Knoll just dropped back. Marini to the lead with 2 to go.
I wonder if this is like a super elongated strategy call then between these 3, because it's 5 seconds. Yeah, I don't think MacAulay and Kalenian can make this up now.
And if we get a caution, this race is over. So we're coming to the white flag here. And how about this? The driver from Thunder Bay, Ontario, and Mike Marini could be on his way to his first win in the network in a long time. But then there's Kyle Knoll looking for his first win ever in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. He's right in behind him to the outside. White flag.
Yeah, and Kern just fell off the face of the earth. I think he might have run out.
Yeah, he's run out. He's down pit road. So it's all Kyle Knoll versus Mike Marini. Knoll dives way down low. Marini almost joins him. 3 and 4 for one final time.
This is a 2-horse race here, and we're going 7 for 7 on new names here, Reegs.
And there you have it, a first career win. I was saying this earlier, the 15 of Kyle Knoll for Storm Surge Esports at a Middlesex, North Carolina to victory lane at Auto Club Speedway in the 2nd annual Forked River 250. How about that? That's the complete opposite of a commentator's jinx.
Man, oh man, that was, well, yeah, because I mean, you called that earlier as Knoll potentially being a guy to watch here, and he nailed the conservation whenever he came in. Again, there was that realization from a chunk of the field that after that one caution that we had, there's potential to one stop it after that. And yeah, fair play to Kyle Knoll. He got it to absolute perfection and was just able to drive away in the last couple of laps. And this is a win that's a long time coming.
I was just about to say, this guy, ever since he first joined the network in the NASCAR series, absolutely abysmal luck. Pretty much every single race that he ran showed many flashes of brilliance, had great pace overall, but just couldn't get the job done. And even he had to go through some humbling lessons and moments to start off his Canadian E-Motorsports Network career. There were plenty of big mistakes that he made. There, we've all known him as a driver that can be aggressive from time to time, but of course you're going to have those drivers. You need to have those kinds of drivers in a racing league so you can kind of have those different dynamics to put on some fantastic shows every single Tuesday night here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. But finally, the long run, the long game works in favor of Kyle Knoll. And he played the fuel mileage, as Jose Mercado said in the chat, and Andy Hertel's even said it too. Absolute perfection. And again, a long time coming for the Storm Surge Esports driver, and I can only imagine he's going to make his team ever so proud. It's been forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, first time getting it done. There's really, even Kyle himself says he has no idea how he pulled that off. So that's the benefit of kind of seeing how the post-race chat went. But I mean, pour one out for Mike Marini as well, getting so close to getting back into the winner's circle for the first time in 3.5, almost 4 years. But you know what? Tonight, it felt like one way or another. It felt like a night where a new driver was gonna break through. And you know what? Just brilliant strategy call, and the big brain kind of got it right here tonight. And that's why you see Kyle Knoll on top of the board.
Yeah, we're seeing in the live chat too. I assume you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Okay, so here's an idea. And I think I'm going to type the idea separately. And maybe that will give you the sense of what to do here. So I'm going to type my idea in the admin chat. Okay. Yeah, we're working through some real-time production issues here, folks.
And so while we're dealing with that, we might as well, of course, go through the unofficial results here of tonight's second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. Kyle Knoll finally getting that first career win in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, specifically in the IndyCar Series here at Auto Club Speedway. Mike Marini finishing runner-up. We saw him lead a lap or two there towards the end, but just fell short of his first win within the network in a couple of years. But nonetheless, a fantastic performance out of him, playing the long game just like Knoll did. Unfortunately, fell short of the better fuel mileage and saving out of the number 15. Jordan Kalenian and Corbin MacAulay finishing third and fourth, continuing their momentum forward from successful races at Iowa Speedway last Tuesday. C.D. Mangrum rounding out the top five. That's certainly a hell of a lot better result compared to the two results he had to face at Iowa last week. Bradley Sexton comes home sixth, final car on the lead lap, so his winless streak is going to continue now at 3 races. Will Kern 7th, a lap down, 2 laps down each for Ireland and Ouellette in 8th and 9th. Charlie Sears rounds out the top 10, 17 laps down. And then rounding out the field, a bunch of guys that just did not have luck on their side tonight. Hunter Young in 11th, 73 laps down, had a spin on his own down the front stretch. And then, of course, between 12th, 14th, the 3 guys that were involved in that big wreck down the back stretch, 2 cars up in the air, 1 upside down. Andy Hertel, Stephen Ellis, 2499 Racing guys, and then GTR's Jose Mercado rounding them out all 90 laps down to wrap up this 14-car field for the second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. And have we made any progress yet on this behind-the-scenes situation?
I think there has been a little bit of progress made if you take a look in that main chat. Yeah, just basically something where the question is visible, I think, is the best way to describe the current situation. Which helps that's what I usually do for you anyway, is type out a couple questions.
Within the iRacing voice chat is what you said?
I'm thinking it would, well, are you able to see, like, again, for those unaware, I do not have iRacing myself, so I'm unaware if you're able to see, text comments in there. But if you're not, I was thinking, or some people were thinking maybe the Discord server.
Like typing them into the Discord server or voice chatting there?
Well, you could do, like, you could kind of type out what you were going to say and then have him read the question as you're saying it. That way it still feels natural, I guess would be the best way to put it. Probably not a great conversation to be having on air, if we're being completely honest.
No,
but the perils
not
of live production.
Exactly. So I think what we'll do out of respect, obviously, is we'll go in a bit of a loop here, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes here to finally get the answers out of the number 15 of Kyle Knoll, your winner tonight in the second annual Forked River 250. So stay tuned with us. We will eventually get hopefully some answers in just a little bit from tonight's winner. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
I think we're good.
Well, I can hear you.
Yeah, we got him.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, I got caption too, so I figured this out. So,
And there's also a little text box that we can paste the questions into as well.
yeah, sounds good to me.
Yep.
But yeah,
we made this work.
Yeah, we're kind of it's a little bit Canadian E-Motorsports Network history in a way here, because we're usually so used to doing these post-race winner interviews through the iRacing voice chat, or maybe every now and then through Discord. But no, through our broadcast control room that Jordy and I use for every single race here, every single Tuesday night for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network on iRacing. We now have the winner in here in our control room with us. The number 15 of Kyle Knoll for Storm Surge Esports out of Middlesex, North Carolina. First career win in the network overall and in the IndyCar Series. Man, oh man, it's been ever a long time coming for you, buddy.
Oh yeah, I still can't believe I was just thinking this is probably like the most satisfying win I ever gotten on my racing. Like, I can't believe I pulled off the strategy that I had.
And through, ever since you first joined the network, you've been through so many humbling moments, humbling lessons, of course, just Lady Luck never really being on your side. Of course, we whenever you first came along, there was that aggressive driving style, but as you progressed through the years and progressed through each race and such, you have definitely shown a lot of growth, and you've grown, you've gained a lot of respect out of all your fellow competitors and everything. So to be able to finally come out with this victory and that fuel mileage and being able to play that long game absolutely perfectly there towards the end of this race, and being able to beat Mike Marini there at the end, and being all these other big names, Jordan Kalenian, Corbin MacAulay, Bradley, Sexton, like just an incredible accomplishment. No better way to get that first win. Just talk about the race overall and what it means to have gotten the win in this kind of a situation.
It just means the world to me. I mean, there's a lot of great drivers in this. We has so much respect for this field, so much respect for everybody, and it's funny how you were talking about being accredited, because there's that opposite had to happen for this win to happen. I had to really hang back and use the draft to save the gas as much as I can. Switching the maps, I was giving up a lot of power by lowering down the map number from map 1 to map 4 or 5, pretty much the whole race, and it paid off. I mean, it's incredible. It's one thing to work through the strategy, but it's another thing for luck to finally be on my side for once. And man, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It always works out.
Jordy, I might as well hand the reins over to you now.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be back on this side of things. So yeah, again, Kyle, first off, congratulations on making this happen once again. And now, usually when you think of Auto Club, you think of, a lot of chaotic things happening, whether it's, crashes at the end. You were around last year for it, so knowing that we had that caution around lap 34 or 35, at what point, as you were doing your fuel mapping that you were just talking about, at what point did you realize that you might be able to get the one stop done?
Honestly, I figure that I can probably make 43 or 44 laps work out. So when we got to lap 34, 35, whenever, I came back in one more time, and then I was doing the math, and I realized it's possible if I, just completely save the gas the whole race. Yeah, I wasn't sure that was going to work out, especially when, the pat racing isn't pat racing anymore. The field spread out. So because there's no longer pat racing, there's a chance that I had to burn more gas than I was hoping for. But thankfully, there were just enough drivers around me that I was able to ride off their drafting to save a little bit more. But I was literally saving every single lap from the very beginning to the very end, except for maybe the last couple of laps when I saw the field was coming pretty quickly on my track map. So I'm like, switch up from map 5 to map 1 to get a little bit more speed and pull away from Mike and Willem. So I wasn't sure I was going to pull that off, but it worked out. And I literally ran now, coming down to turn 1. It was that close.
Man, oh man. That was the question I was going to ask, is just how much longer you would have been able to go once you finally opened things up, because obviously you would have seen MacAulay and Kalenian catching up to you pretty quickly, but we got to go back to, that entire stint where it seemed like you would have realized pretty quickly that you had Will Kern and Mike Marini around you trying to pull off the same thing. So in a way, knowing that they were in the same situation as you, did that help you get into a little bit of a rhythm when, that element of conservation was so important to the strategy tonight?
Yeah, I was watching William and Mike, they were just as slow I was. I was realizing they might need to save a little bit more gas. It was probably about 10 laps to go that I realized I had like 1 lap of gas left. So like I had probably, if I was staying on map 5, entire lap 10, entire last 10 laps, I probably would have gotten one more lap of gas left. So I had that little boost left, if that makes sense. So I realized, I'm going to save as much as I can between these guys. And then probably a couple laps ago, I'm going to, switch the lights on and go full speed to get away from everybody. So, yeah, wasn't sure that was going to work out. Because like 2 laps ago, my fuel bot was screaming at me, I'm not going to have enough gas. So I went back to saving gas for one more lap. And then, I went full power again. It was a lot back and forth on the last 10 laps.
Yeah, and then obviously toward the end, you had Will Kern eventually run out as you made your break toward the end. So once you had that break, was it just a matter of just, keeping your eyes forward and not worrying about anything or anyone that might be coming up behind you, just get to the line?
Correct, yeah. I wasn't sure if William or Mike is going to have enough to keep up with me when I go full power. And it looked like Mike was able to keep up with me a little bit, but, I was just too far ahead of him by that point. So it was crazy. I was so worried about last 10 laps when, the pack was coming up to me so quickly. I'm like, oh, gee, they're coming up faster than I thought. So I, just went for it and just praying that I had enough gas to finish the race.
Yeah, and obviously, as we saw, you absolutely nailed it. So once again, congratulations to you, and I will turn things back over to Regan now.
Yes, Jordy, must have. I think, you said earlier, it must have felt good to finally be kind of back in this environment where now you can communicate with us instead of texting the questions to me.
Yeah. No, this is nice. I may or may not have been advocating for this earlier, but we'll have to, now that you know it works, maybe that's something to experiment with working forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good to doing this again.
Yeah.
Next time I win.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
There we go, Kyle. I love it.
And now, Kyle, this is your first time, obviously, talking with us, your first post-race winner interview here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Now you finally get this opportunity to finally thank and shout out those that have helped you along the way and have helped you to come on net every single Tuesday night when you can, and to, especially tonight, get the job done. Who gets a thank you?
Yeah. Yeah, I should want to say thank you, everybody, for helping me out over the last couple years. And I should want to say thank you to my wife for letting me do this every Tuesday. I want to say thank you to literally, there's so many people to thank to. I had like my YouTube channel with like almost 500 subscribers. So I had a lot of viewers. I want to say thank you to them for supporting me always. And I know I had with my corrective driving, I had several bit moments with the other drivers in the field, but I just want to say thank you to them as well for making me a better driver. Whether it's a friendly messages or not so friendly messages, it's always make me better drivers and every little thing, every little ways. So I should want to say thank you, everybody, for making this possible.
Yeah, indeed. And we greatly appreciate you, of course, committing yourself to the network each and every Tuesday night whenever you can. It's certainly a pleasure to have you participating with us, and we look forward to hopefully having you stick along with us for down the line if we do continue to commence more racing here on iRacing in 2025. But I guess to wrap this all up, assuming that you will be with us for Laguna Seca and or Nashville Super Speedway for the rest of the season, how does this help your confidence in moving forward to try and pick up maybe a couple more wins within the next couple of weeks to try to continue to end this third season of IndyCar racing on a high note?
That's for sure.
And so, yeah, I suppose that pretty much wraps it up here for this post-race winner interview after the second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. The driver of the number 15 Storm Surge Esports IR18 out of Middlesex, North Carolina, Kyle Knoll, his first career win in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network and the IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. It's been a long time coming, but man, oh man, was the timing ever golden, especially in the situation that he put himself in. Incredible fuel mileage. He did it to a perfect T. Kyle, once again, congratulations on this long time coming victory, and we greatly appreciate, of course, your commitment every single Tuesday night here to the network, and it was a pleasure here talking with you in this control room now, finally, with Jordy being able to ask questions, of course, too. So once again, congratulations, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
So there it was, the second annual Forked River 250 post-race winner interview at the virtual Auto Club Speedway near Fontana, California. And Jordy, I think the best way to put everything that just happened right there for the past couple of minutes is that out of the 3 years I've been involved with the network, eventually joining you since you've been here since the very beginning, for my time within the network, that was probably the most wholesome interview I've ever been a part of, by far.
Dude, I'm smiling from ear to ear over here. Like, you can hear the genuine gratitude that he's talking, the genuine passion that he's got for all this. Matter of fact, I may or may not have pulled up a Storm Surge Esports video of him, racing Laguna Seca previously in an IndyCar fixed setup. So there might be some studying happening there at that point, even though he may have just told us it's not his favorite track, so to speak. But yeah, we'll have to see if he's learned from the experience that we can kind of take from his channel. But you know what? There's nothing quite like coming off the high of a victory. And you know what? The way that he was able to put it together, he came in with the plan. And ultimately that one caution, I think, worked out absolutely perfectly for him in terms of the timing and just being as meticulous as he was, or as he explained to us with the fuel mapping afterwards. Like, you know what? That is kind of like going into the deepest part of the bag of tricks in order to make things happen. And so, you know what? This is a fully deserved, fully commendable victory for the 15. And you know what? 7 for 7 on the AJ FOYT Cup side of things in terms of different winners. That's awesome.
Indeed it is. That unpredictability has helped to put on some fantastic shows in each and every one of the oval races this season. And yes, again, back to Kyle Knoll. He executed that plan. He brought in absolutely perfectly. That caution was great timing for him as well, being able to avoid that wreck with Andy Hertel, Stephen Ellis, and Jose Mercado. And just the in that interview, the passion, the gratitude, the determination, the positivity, the enthusiasm, and being able to show that, both on and off the racetrack, like with the racing product on the track and everything that happens off the track with how fantastic this group is, especially with a figure like Kyle Knoll in it. It just goes to show how truly special the community that we have here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network is. And it's why we've been able to keep ourselves alive and, be able to be doing this every single Tuesday night ever since the pandemic back in 2020, and tonight certainly proved that once again. And so with all that being said, that wraps it up for the second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway. Of course, round 14 to 16 for the overall the season-long Greg Moore Cup, and the Oval Championship, the AJ FOYT Cup, it's round 7 of 8. We now move on to the penultimate race for the Greg Moore Cup, the finale for the Mario Andretti Cup. We're right back at it to road and street course racing for one final time. Round 15 to 16 for the Greg Moore Cup, and round 8 of 8 for the Mario Andretti Cup. It'll be the 107 miles at Laguna Seca on Tuesday, December 10th next week. Previous winner being your reigning series champion, Charlie Sears, where, of course, a year ago, this is the race where he just so happened to, it was the championship finale. He clinched the championship in the 2023, back then, the Dart Series, of course. And then the week after, Tuesday, December 17th, we will wrap up the entire season with the Greg Moore Cup and AJ FOYT Cup championship finales. The Music City Championship race presented by Side Launch Brewing in the Music City at Nashville Super Speedway. Of course, it'll be our first time venturing there within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network as a whole. So, majority of this final run towards the end, Laguna Seca to wrap up the Road and Street Course Championship, and then Nashville Super Speedway to wrap up the season-long and oval championships. It's going to be quite the ride towards the end, no doubt, and just knowing how some of these past couple of weeks have been in terms of the racing product and how everybody has been communicating to each other and been bonding together off the track as well. There's no doubt we have plenty of momentum to have a strong, strong ending to this third season of IndyCar racing powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue.
Yeah, an entirely different kind of drama or cinema tonight, but I have to say, like, that was just, the execution was fantastic. Again, we've said that a few times now, and I think it bears repeating because, you know, the instinct when you're behind the wheel, go fast with no regard for anything else. But you know what? Strategy absolutely comes into play, and that's where you see a result like tonight come into play. And you know what? Like I said, I'm still loving what I'm seeing in terms of, you know, just the fact that everything worked out as it did. And you know, to be able to say that we still haven't had a repeat winner on the ovals is mind-blowing to me with one race to go. And yeah, coming into, you know, the last couple of races of the year, like, there's still a lot to build off of, because if you recall, like, we obviously had some dramatics on our last road course, to say the very least. Yeah, Laguna Seca certainly produces its fair share of drama by times as well. The corkscrew can just reach up and grab anybody at a moment's notice. So, you know, it's still, you know, yeah, that championship is decided, as is the Greg Moore Cup, which, by the way, we should, you know, acknowledge Brad Sexton. Congratulations on that, for the record. Yeah, still, you know, I think we'll still have an entertaining race next week. And again, we have the unpredictability of Nashville to kind of wrap things up in a couple of weeks' time. And you know what? As much as we've been saying, you know what, let's just get to the holidays and see how things are, like, you know what? We've still got an exciting couple of weeks left here, friend.
Indeed, we do. After all the momentum that continued to build up and really ended off with some incredible goosebumps in tonight's second annual Forked River 250 at Auto Club Speedway, there's no doubt that the next 2 weeks are going to be more entertaining than ever. So, of course, that's going to do it for another live production of Canadian E-Motorsports Network action on iRacing here on our YouTube channel. On behalf of everybody involved with this, my name is Regan MacAulay. That was Jordy Carraher. And then, of course, the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Competition Committee, driver, staff partners, everybody involved. That was round 14 of 16 for the 2024 Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue on iRacing. Congratulations to Kyle Knoll on winning here tonight, the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. Congratulations to Bradley Sexton on clinching the season-long Greg Moore Cup Championship. We will see you all next Tuesday night, December 10th, 2024, for the 107 miles at Laguna Seca to wrap up the Mario Andretti Cup side of things here for Season 3 of the IndyCar Series. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next Tuesday.